Welcome to From Caracas. I'm Laura Prada. In this opportunity, we'll be speaking with Mohsen Bilal. He's member of the Central Committee of the Ba'ath Arab Socialist Party from Syria. With him, we are going to be talking today and understanding better how life is going in this country and the relationship with Latin America, the Syrian relationship with Latin America, with countries like Venezuela and Cuba. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. And so thank you for Telesur also, and for you.
My first question, the US and the European Union have just extended sanctions against Syria until 2021. How do these coercive measures make it difficult to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic?
It's absurd to hear such news from United States and from the European Union. Instead to help us and to help the whole peoples in the world to fight against coronavirus, they are renewed the sanctions or so-called sanctions against our country, Syria, and at the same time they withdraw as United States from the Health World Organization instead to finance and to encourage that international organization for the health against diseases in the middle of the battle against corona. United States surprised us to withdraw from such very big and interesting organization for the health against the infirmity, against the diseases. Now, as representative of such disease is corona. It's absurd to behave in such behavior.
In this month, there were further attacks on the country. How do you manage to deal with both crises, with the COVID-19 pandemic and the violence created in the country?
You are so kind and so gentle to define such behavior of United States and European Union, unfair or like that. It's a kind of aggression against the whole humanity. Instead to help the countries like us, like China, like Korea, Cuba, etc., they renewed the so-called sanctions against such kind of peoples who fight against disease, against poverty, to develop their own peoples. It's a kind of absurd. It's a kind, really, they are enemies of the whole humanity. I cannot use diplomatic words or diplomatic titles. They are in such field like others field. They are in such field, they are criminals against the humanity and against the wealth and health of the whole peoples in the world. Not only against the innocent and nice people like Syrian and other people. We, with our friends, with our allies like Russia, like Iran, like China, like other peoples and countries in Africa, in Asia, in whole the world, they are backing us, and we are decided to go on fighting against the whole kinds of aggression in field of health, in field of military, in field of good wealth in the world. So the Syrian people, the whole world, know about our sovereignty, about our dignity, about our unity. We are fighting since 10 years against terrorism, against powers like United States of America, like others, allies of United States. With our allies, we are so we are so proud of our allies like Russia, like Iran, like the resistance of Lebanon, Hezbollah. So we are proud of them. We are proud to be allies and to fight together against the imperialism and against Israel, against the terrorism. We are proud about our army, about the Syrian army, who is united, who is very strong, who defend our sovereignty, who defend the unity of Syria, who fight day and night against the aggressors, the whole kinds of aggressors. In the same time, we are also proud about our friendship, about our allies in whole the world. In Arab world, in African world, in Asian world. We are proud of a lot of countries and peoples who fight with us, who who is very nice with us. So we are proud about our friendship with that kind fighters for freedom, for sovereignty, and for independence in Asia, in Africa, in Latin America. Venezuela example, Cuba example, a lot of countries in the world example, to be allied with our own people of Syria.
When do you consider that the conflict in Syria has a definite end, and what are the obstacles that prevent from achieving peace?
We fought since 10 years with our allies, with the leadership of the high President Bashar al-Assad, who is leading the liberation fighting against terrorism, first of all, and against the governments who allies to such behavior of terrorists. They fought politically and with kind of invasions. I cannot say only Turkish presence is here. They used, as Turkish government, their own army in such form, in such kind of, to try to invade Syria, to invade the territory of Idlib, to invade the territory of Aleppo, but we cannot stay calm to receive them. We are fighting against any form of foreigner invasion. Who is backing? They are telling to back the Syrian people. How to back Syrian people? The Syrian people is sovereign, member of UN, member of whole international community. So we are sovereign, and we are able to defend our territory against any aggressor. Now the Turkish, we will, and we are fighting against their own presence inside of our territory. Idlib example. The presence of any foreigner soldier without the permission, legal permission of the Syrian government, as Syrian we consider such behavior as invasion and as a kind of war against our sovereignty as Syrians. Now, the US military presence in Syria, who controls water, electricity, dam, Syrian petroleum, Syrian agriculture. So this kind of, inter parentheses, presence, it's a kind of foreigner invasion against the sovereignty and against the wealth of Syria. So we are fighting against any foreigner presence without the permission of us. When we call the friends to help us, ahlan wa sahlan, so welcome. But they are not friends. They are coming to back the terroristic organization and the terroristic presence in our territories.
You are also president of the Syrian-Cuban Friendship Association. What are the relations between the Cuban and the Syrian people?
I feel so proud to be elected as chairman of the Cuban-Syrian Friendship Committee. And I am proud to be in such post because I am visiting Cuba since 1968 and 1979 and 1981 and etc. etc. So I have wonderful relationship with the Grand Commander Fidel Castro and Raúl Castro and the son of Fidel Castro also. So with Cuban people, I am proud to be as admirer of Cuban struggle, of Cuban fighting against the imperialism, and in the same time to be now nominated from my comrades, leaders of Ba'ath Party, to be or to lead such community or such committee for Cuban-Syrian friendship. So it's for me a great honor and I fight and I fight with my comrades in Ba'ath Party, in universities of Damascus, Aleppo, Latakia, Hama, Deir Zor, etc., to renew and to reactivate always the friendship and brotherhood between the Syrian people and the Cuban people, and at the same time between Syrian people and the whole peoples of the continent Latin American who fight against the imperialism and fight for the progress and for the welfare and against the any presence of imperialistic forces in any centimeter of our land, sia in Syria, que in Latin America. It was an honor to me to be invited to the conference in Havana last month against the imperialism and for the unity of the whole fighters anti-imperialistic in whole the world. So, and it was an honor for me to be received by the President Maduro with his wife. So it was very interesting meeting with him, and it was an honor to me to be invited to make a speech beside him for the Congress in Caracas. So with Caracas we have a historical relationship from the beginning of the election of the President Hugo Chavez, who represented as a symbol of the struggle against imperialism, particularly against the U.S. imperialism and U.S. power. So the visit to Caracas 2 months ago, it was for me a great honor, and to participate beside of other fighters in the world against the imperialism, for the progress and for the solidarity with the nice and anti-imperialistic regime of President Chavez, of President Maduro today. And I saw in my eyes the whole peoples in the world coming to Caracas to be beside to Maduro and to the people of Venezuela against the hegemony of the United States and los Yankees, as our comrade in Caracas dominate them. So it was for me a great honor to be received by the commander Maduro, and at the same time it was an honor to speak on behalf of the whole invited people to the Congress and to that international conference. With Caracas we have a comrade and friends who fighting together against the hegemony of United States, of the hegemony of the North American imperialism. In the same time, I would like to tell you and to tell Telesur about the Syrian community in Venezuela. We have about 2 million, I think. We have member of parliament, we have ministers, we have till vice president. So the Syrian community in Venezuela, they are very good and very hard worker, and they are representatives of our people. Beside to the official ambassador, and he is very good ambassador of us in Caracas. So our communities there, we consider them as ambassadors to the Syrian struggle and to the Syrian cause.
How does relations between Venezuela and Syria continue, given that bilateral relation between the two countries that was activated between since 2006? How has that relation been going on?
Our relationship with Cuba and Venezuela as symbols of Latin America continent, I consider it is a symbolic relationship. We have, beside of the diplomatic relationship and the diplomatic lies, we have physical presence. We have a lot of families, Syrian families in Cuba since tens and tens years ago, and also in Venezuela we have more than 1 million of Syrian citizens. Now they become Venezuelan citizens, etc. So we are proud of their presence there, and at the same time we are proud of our ties between the Syrian Arab Republic and Venezuela and Cuba, and we consider it as symbol of the ties between the free and sovereign countries in the world, full of solidarity, full of friendship, full of brotherhood. So we are proud of that kind of relationship with Cuba and with Venezuela.
At this time of commemoration of the fight against French colonialism, is European colonialism in force, considering that recently the European Union has extended some sanctions and restrictions to Syria until next year, until 2021? How can we see that?
Well, I am so sorry for the European countries and for the European Union. We were before optimistic to be beside us, beside the peoples who fight for liberty, for freedom, for self-determination, but with a great, painful feelings, the European Union now is submitted to the United States of America, and to follow them in their programs against the peoples, against self-determination. Can you imagine to renew so-called sanction by the summit of European Union days ago against Syria? It's a pity, and we are sorry for them to be not sovereign beside the United States of America. يعني, it was painful, really. Personally speaking, I feel very painful and very sorry to hear such يعني, news coming from European Union to renew so-called sanctions against the Syrian people who fight against terrorism, who fight for liberty, who fight for unity of Syrian people and Syrian territory. It's so painful from the countries of European Union.
Thank you very much, Mohsen Bilal, for sharing your time with us here from Caracas, for making us understand better the Syrian conflict and that relationship with this region, with Venezuela and with Cuba, how Syria is tying those friendship bonds that has brought it closer to Latin America and the Caribbean. Thank you very much for being with us.
You are very welcome.